Shalom, my name is Adam and I welcome you to the parable of the vineyard. Every day, Yahweh is waking up a remnant, a group of people who are coming out of deceptions, realizing our walk is to consist of faith and obedience to his righteous commands. Each week, we read through and examine a portion of the Torah, allowing the Spirit of the Most High to guide, teach, and open our eyes and ears to the wondrous matters out of his law. Join us as we seek to be refined by his word, preparing ourselves for the return of our King of Kings, being faithful and obedient, walking in his way, truth, and life. Hey, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Parable of the Vineyard. This is week 40. We're going to cover Numbers 22:2 through 25:9. This is, of course, about Balaam, the donkey, seeing Messiah and interacting and actually even having some really deep messianic prophecies that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So let's get into prayer. Let's blow those shofars, and we'll get right into week 40. So Heavenly Father, Yahweh Most High, we just thank you so much for creating everything for us in 6 days and resting on the seventh and giving us an example forever. And I just pray you bless us with your Holy Spirit that we may understand your word better and follow it. It's in your Son, Yahushua's name we pray. Amen. All right, let's blow shofars. I'm going to sneeze too. Praise Yah. I was holding that one in during the prayer. Yeah, that's usually where like people's animals like freak out. All right, so let's actually get right to Numbers 22. Actually, you know what? As a matter of fact, I wanted to read this before we get started. The rest of this Torah portion has a lot to do with this in kind of an interesting way, and yeah, let's just start here. All right, so Genesis 1:26, and Elohim said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion," so like rulership, kingship, "over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth on the earth." So Elohim created man in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him. Male and female created he them. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said unto them, "Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion," kingship, "over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth." And so, from the understanding that I have, and this may differ from you. I know the deity of Messiah and the Godhead is highly contested, but from where I'm at, when I look at Elohim, look at the plural of Elohim. From what I understand, this is the Father and the Son in the beginning being like, hey, let's create everything. And then, of course, the pinnacle of their creation is man and woman to do what? To basically enjoy everything that he created, to be rulers over it, righteous rulers, right? Not like destroying creation and trampling it down and doing things contrary to nature and contrary to Yah. No, but in accordance with Yahweh's ways, man is supposed to be ruler over the earth. And so this is what I'm understanding here is this is Messiah with the Father looking at man, creating him, saying, hey, I've made you to rule over this earth. And so that's going to play in a lot to the rest of this Torah portion, and you'll see what I'm talking about, I guess, as we discuss it. That doesn't come till a little bit later on. So let's go to Numbers 22 and praise Yah.
And Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Yashrael had done to the Amorim. And Moab was sore afraid of the people, because they were many. And Moab was distressed because of the children of Yashrael. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian,
"Now this company licks up all that are round about us, as the ox licks up the grass of the field."
And Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of the Moabim at that time. He sent messengers therefore unto Balaam, the son of Beor, to Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying,
Behold, There is a people come out from Mitzrayim. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray you, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Perchance I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed.
And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. And they came unto Balaam, and spoke unto him the words of Balak. And he said unto them,
Lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as Yahweh shall speak unto me.
And the princes of Moab abode with Balaam. And Elohim came unto Balaam and said,
What men are these with you?
And Balaam said unto Elohim,
Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent unto me, saying, Behold, there is a people come out of Mitzrayim, which covers the face of the earth. Come now, curse me them. Perchance I shall be able to overcome them, and drive them out.
And Elohim said unto Balaam,
You shall not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed.
And Balaam rose up in the morning, and said unto the princes of Balak,
Get you into your land, for Yahweh refuses to give me leave to go with you.
And the princes of Moab rose up, and they went unto Balak, and said,
Balaam refuses to come with us.
And Balak sent yet again princes more, and more honorable than they. And they came to Balaam, and said to him,
Thus says Balak, the son of Zippor, Let nothing, I pray you, hinder you from coming unto me, for I will promote you unto very great honor, and I will do whatsoever you say unto me. Come therefore, I pray you, curse me this people.
And Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak,
If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of Yahweh Elohai, to do less or more. Now therefore, I pray you, tarry ye also here this night, that I may know what Yahweh will say unto me.
And Elohim came unto Balaam at night, and said unto him,
If the men come to call you, rise up and go with them. But yet the word which I shall say unto you, that shall you do.
And Balaam rose up in the morning, and saddled his ass, and went with the princes of Moab. And Elohim's anger was kindled because he went. And the angel of Yahweh stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and his two servants were with him. And the ass saw the angel of Yahweh standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way, and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass, to turn her into the way. But the angel of Yahweh stood in a path of the vineyards, a wall being on this side, and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of Yahweh, she thrust herself unto the wall, and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. And the angel of Yahweh went further, and stood in a narrow place, where was no way to turn either to the right hand or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of Yahweh, she fell down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with a staff. And Yahweh opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam,
What have I done unto you, that you have smitten me these 3 times?
And Balaam said unto the ass,
Because you have mocked me. I would there were a sword in my hand, for now I would kill you.
And the ass said unto Balaam,
Am I not your ass, upon which you have ridden ever since I was yours, unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto you?
And he said,
Nay.
Then Yahweh opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of Yahweh standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And he bowed down his head, and fell flat on his face. And the angel of Yahweh said unto him,
Wherefore have you smitten your ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand you, because your way is perverse before me. And the ass saw me, and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned from me, surely now also I had slain you, and saved her alive.
And Balaam said unto the angel of Yahweh,
I have sinned. For I knew not that you stood in the way against me. Now therefore, if it displease you, I will get me back again.
And the angel of Yahweh said unto Balaam,
Go with the men, but only the word that I shall speak unto you, that you shall speak.
So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. And when Balak heard that Balaam was come, he went out to meet him unto a city of Moab, which is in the border of Arnon, which is in the utmost coast. And Balak said unto Balaam,
Did I not earnestly send unto you to call you? Wherefore came you not unto me? Am I not able indeed to promote you to honor?
And Balaam said unto Balak,
Lo, I am come unto you. Have I now any power at all to say anything? The word that Elohim puts in my mouth, that shall I speak.
And Balaam went with Balak, and they came unto Kiryat Chutzoth. And Balak offered oxen and sheep, and sent to Balaam, and to the princes that were with him. And it came to pass on the morrow, that Balak took Balaam, and brought him up unto the high places of Baal, that thence he might see the utmost part of the people.
Okay, so obviously really interesting, because we know that Balaam is wicked, or ends up being wicked at least. Most of you may remember Peter talking about him, maybe even the book of Revelation, Messiah literally talking about Balaam. And but what's interesting here is, we read this and it's like, wait a minute, he's like he's talking righteously, because he's like, hey, I can't go with you. Even if you give me all the gold and silver, I follow Yahweh. And you're like, wait a minute, this guy's talking righteous. What's going on here? And I think this is a really interesting passage. First of all, we have to recognize Yahweh can work through or use anyone for his glory or his purpose, first off. And so let's just consider that, Balaam is just wicked right now and always wicked. Yahweh can still use him and communicate even. So check this out. Isaiah 10:5-6. O Assyrian, the rod of my anger and the staff in their hand is my indignation. I will send him, who? The Assyrian, against a hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil, to take the prey, and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. So he's basically saying like, hey, I'm going to take this nation and I'm going to go judge my people with him. And, this was even stated, this is Rabshakeh, the messenger of the king of Assyria, speaking to Hezekiah and Judah, Isaiah 36:10, and it says, Am I now come up without Yahweh against this land to destroy it? Yahweh said unto me, Go up against this land and destroy it. So either, this is exactly happened what was prophesied, or Rabshakeh could be lying and be like, yeah, the Lord, Yahweh told me to come, destroy you. But either way, that's what has been recorded and written for us. Revelation 17:17 says, For Elohim has put in their hearts, this is the context of this is the kings of the world, the beast. So Elohim has put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of Elohim should be fulfilled. And so this is obviously just recognizing that Yahweh is in control at all times. And that, he tests people through Satan and through man and through wicked kingdoms. And if you read the rest of the story, Hezekiah and the people remain righteous and they seek Yahweh, and Yahweh delivers and destroys this army. I think he sends them away and then they come back and then he just destroys them, like 185,000 in a second, basically. And so anyways, there's some history that between Balaam and Moses that we don't really get in the canon. Now, I'm not going to read the Jasher passages. For those of you that look at the study notes, I always have those in the description box of the YouTube video. It's a link, and I'll have a downloadable Word document that has all this, or I just copy and paste it into the web browser. But either way, all my notes here. But Jasher 67:8-52, just to quickly go over that. This is in the courts of Pharaoh. This is like before this time. Pharaoh has a dream. Balaam was part of his court. Balaam is the one that gave advice to kill the Hebrew babies in the water. And so he was definitely wicked of ancient time. But if you continue to go through the story, later in Joshua 70, 1 through 31, there's a really interesting interaction there between Balaam and Moses there. Moses is like a baby toddler, and they're at dinner, and Moses is sitting on Bathia, which is Pharaoh's daughter, the princess, basically. And Moses is like just sitting in her lap, and Moses is next to the king. Moses grabs the crown, puts it on his head, and everyone's like, "Ooh," right? And so Pharaoh's looking around like, "What do you guys think? This is not just an accident." And Balaam was like, this is like his moment, and he recounts, "Hey, Hebrews, they are usurpers, man. Ever since Abraham, he lied to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh, got judged, and he lied about Sarah, and Isaac. He went into Gerar, the Philistines, and lied to them, and almost got them in trouble. And he proved to be more powerful than them. And Jacob usurped his brother and got the inheritance, and went to Laban, and gave obviously a wicked perspective. Came in and took his daughters and took all his riches, and so had like a slanderous take on the events, but was recounting all basically the highlights of the Hebrews, including Joseph and being sold by his brothers, and just kind of pointing out and slandering some of the mistakes. We see the God of Israel being merciful with those mistakes and still using these people, and we see the enemy's perspective is like a wicked twist on it, right? And anyways, because you go back to Abraham, it's like, God, goodness, these people are going to want to take my wife and kill her, and so I'm going to protect my family. And so it's not like this guileful, it's more like, hey, I just want to protect my family. And so the enemy can take a spin on that and portray unrighteousness. Anyways, so basically when this thing goes down with the crown, Balaam is just going through and like, hey, and ending after Joseph and his brothers, ending up with, hey, and here's this Hebrew kid I was telling you about. That dream had to do with a prophecy of Moses destroying Egypt. And he's like, hey, and by the way, that dream I interpreted for you, this is that baby, this is that Messiah that's born, that's going to destroy you and your kingdom and take your riches from you. So kill him now. And anyways, obviously Moses gets saved. Long story short, they have a test. It says the angel of Yahweh went in the courts and said, hey, before you kill him, let's do a test. Put an onyx stone and a lump of hot coal, and if he grabs the onyx stone, we know that he's wise, but if he grabs the coal, then we know he's just a baby. Like, let's relax here for a second. And so if Moses grabs actually he was going to grab the onyx stone, and it said the angel put his hand towards the coal and put the coal in his mouth and burned his mouth. And I think we could maybe guess as to why maybe Moses had a lisp or a stutter. It was burnt. Anyways, and so Moses was saved. He didn't get destroyed. Eventually Moses grew up. Balaam fled to Cush. Moses eventually fled Egypt because of killing Moses or killing Pharaoh's servant, and then fleeing for his life. He goes to Cush and ends up Balaam ends up leaving Cush because of Moses. Goes back to Egypt and settles back in Pharaoh's court, to which Balaam and his sons become the sorcerers and the very ones that withstand Moses and Aaron with the rods, and their rods end up being the serpents also. And so Balaam is heavily connected in this story, and the book of Jasher gives us a lot. So anyways, I kind of paraphrased about 20 minutes of reading in just a couple minutes. If you want to read more about that, I have all the references for you. But there's definitely some history here. But also what doesn't really get implied directly, but possibly what happens is Balaam does see all the stuff that goes down in Egypt, sees all the power, sees all the plagues, basically sees the power of Yahweh. And so here's what I'm proposing. There's not a verse that says this is what happens, but if we can be honest with each other, what we're seeing here is the God of Israel talking more directly to Balaam than he's ever spoken to me or you or a lot of people in the Bible, to be honest with you. I mean, they're going back and forth here, And you see Balaam is literally like, basically, I can't do anything. Right here it says, right here, I mean, this is righteous. Balaam answered and said to the servants of Balak, if you would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of Yahweh Elohai, which is my Elohim, right? To do less or more. So this is super righteous. So I just have a theory that Balaam saw all the stuff and turned to Yahweh. Maybe he got on his knees and called out to Yahweh. And maybe Yahweh was like, hey, guy that was super wicked and was a sorcerer and a black magic guy and cursed nations and got rich for it. Hey, you want to serve me? This is how you do it. And so maybe Balaam got the download somewhere because he ended up knowing how to do the sacrifices that of Yahweh, with the bullocks and the altars, and that's what he has Balak do. And again, if we can be honest, he's having a conversation with the God of Israel. And here we do see the beginning of his error, because he gave him strict instructions, right? That if the men call you, rise up, go with them. But, right? And so we must deduce, because the God of Israel is righteous, that they did not do whatever he said here specifically. And then Balaam rose up, and then, of course, Elohim's anger was kindled. So he must not have followed these specific instructions. So perhaps there was some iniquity that was exposed. Not perhaps. Eventually, the iniquity of Balaam prevailed, which was his desire to be rich. Maybe the root of his love for Elohim was like that of Simon the sorcerer in the book of Acts, where he's like, they see the power of Peter. He's like, what do I need to do? How much do I need to give you to give me that power, right? So maybe Balaam's root love for Elohim was just that power and just the riches, and he saw Moses and them leave with riches. And so I don't know, perhaps I could be reaching here, but again, we have to be honest that he has these mostly righteous interactions, and we see some slip up here. And then of course we see later on the end result of Balaam is that he teaches Balak for Israel to basically curse themselves, and we'll get there. Let's see, where else did I want to read here? We'll definitely read 2 Peter in a second. Let's take a look here. Okay, so let's look Revelation 2:14 through 15. It says, but I have a few things against you, because you have some there who hold the teaching of Balaam, who kept teaching Balak to put a stumbling block before the sons of Israel, to eat things sacrificed to idols, and to commit sexual immorality, which we'll see here in 25. So you too have some who in the same way hold the teaching of the Nicolaitans. And so Balaam did end up going astray. Let's read 2 Peter 2 now. Excuse me. You know what? Actually, matter of fact, I actually want to read this at the end, when we actually read where Balaam does lead Israelites astray. Let's actually put that on ice. Let's see, is there anything else I want to go over here in this interaction? Yes. So obviously, the neat thing is Yahweh can use anybody to reach anyone, even a donkey, of course. A donkey talking to Balaam. One thing we see here also that stood out to me over the years is Proverbs 12:10, a righteous man regards the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. So we definitely see some cruelty of beating, his, could there have been a lighter correction? Maybe that's the point, but Ephesians 6:4 reminds me of how we have to balance opposite ends of the spectrum here, because Ephesians 6:4 gives us some really good guidance on, when thinking about beating, the scriptures do tell us to chasten our children, even specifically to beat them with the rod. But it says here, and you fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of Yahweh. We should be rearing up our children with love and affection and care and gentleness and meekness. But we do know that if they do get out of line, right? Proverbs 13:24, he that spares his rod hates his son, but he that loves him chastens him betimes. And there's many other verses that support this theory of an actual chastening rod. But can someone go too far and be cruel and be too heavy-handed and literally provoke your children to wrath through basically abuse? And yes, absolutely. And is that something we kind of glean here with Balaam? Did he maybe abuse his donkey? I mean, Yahweh, Yahusha here rebuked him. Why did you beat your donkey these 3 times? And so let's go on to 23. We'll get back to the error of Balaam at the end. I want to get on here to 23, and we'll see here some more righteous boundaries set by Balaam. He's like, listen, I know you can make me rich, but I just straight up can't do anything more or less than what I'm told. So let's go to 23.
Bemidbar, Numbers, chapter 23. And Balaam said unto Balak,
Build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 oxen and 7 rams.
And Balak did as Balaam had spoken. And Balak and Balaam offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. And Balaam said unto Balak,
Stand you by your burnt offering, and I will go. Perchance Yahweh will come to meet me, and whatsoever he shows me, I will tell you.
And he went to a high place. And Elohim met Balaam, and he said unto him,
I have prepared 7 altars, and I have offered upon every altar a bullock and a ram.
And Yahweh put a word in Balaam's mouth, and said,
Return unto Balak, and thus you shall speak.
And he returned unto him, and lo, he stood by his burnt sacrifice, he and all the princes of Moab. And he took up his parable and said,
Balak, king of Moab, has brought me from Aram, out of the mountains of the east, saying, Come, curse me Yaakov, and come, defy Yashrael. How shall I curse whom El has not cursed? Or how shall I defy whom Yahweh has not defied? For from the tops of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone, and shall not be reckoned among the nations. Who can count the dust of Yaakov, and the number of the 4th part of Yashrael? Let me die the death of the Yasharim, and let my last end be like his.
And Balak said unto Balaam,
What have you done unto me? I took you to curse my enemies, and behold, you have blessed them altogether.
And he answered and said,
Must I not take heed to speak that which Yahweh has put in my mouth?
And Balak said unto him,
Come, I pray you, with me unto another place, from whence you may see them. You shall see but the uttermost part of them, and shall not see them all, and curse me them from thence.
And he brought him unto the field of Tsophim, to the top of Pigkah, and built 7 altars, and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar. And he said unto Balak,
Stand here by your burnt offering, while I meet Yahweh yonder.
And Yahweh met Balaam, and put a word in his mouth, and said,
Go again unto Balak, and say thus.
And when he came to him, behold, he stood by his burnt offering, and the princes of Moab with him. And Balak said unto him,
What has Yahuwah spoken?
And he took up his parable and said,
Rise up, Balak, and hear. Hearken unto me, you son of Zippor. El is not a man, that he should lie, neither the son of Adam, that he should repent. He has said, and shall he not do it? Or has he spoken, and shall he not make it good? Behold, I have received commandment to bless, and he has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. He has not beheld iniquity in Yaakov, neither has he seen perverseness in Yashrael. Yahweh Eloheinu is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. El brought them out of Mitzrayim. He has, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. Surely there is no enchantment against Yaakov, neither is there any divination against Yashrael. According to this time it shall be said of Yaakov and of Yashrael, What has El wrought? Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion, and lift up himself as a young lion. He shall not lie down until he eat of the prey, and drink the blood of the slain.
And Balak said unto Balaam,
Neither curse them at all, nor bless them at all.
But Balaam answered and said unto Balak,
Told not I you, saying, All that Yahweh speaks, that I must do?
And Balak said unto Balaam,
Come, I pray you, I will bring you unto another place. Perchance it will please Elohim that you may curse me them from thence.
And Balak brought Balaam unto the top of Peor, that looks towards Yeshimun. And Balaam said unto Balak,
Build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 bullocks and 7 rams.
And Balak did as Balaam had said, and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar.
Man, can you imagine that? Like, so you're Balaam, of course, and you're in front of this king and all his princes and all the, the counselors of the nation, and they're like, they're expecting this thing, and you're like, hey, I'm going to give you the exact opposite. And so again, this is like, this is righteous behavior. He's like, I'm gonna tell you exactly what Yahweh told me, and this is where I'm again just understanding the deity of Messiah. Just in case you're new to listening to our understanding, is that Exodus 3 is really the best place to go to this, and you see Messiah there. He's called the angel of Yahweh, he's called Elohim, and he's called Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. And so I'm just understanding that this here is Messiah. He's called the angel of Yahweh in this passage. He's called Elohim. He's called Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. And Balaam is basically like just giving the word of Yahweh as it's being given to him. And also, by the way, it's Pisgah, not Pikgah. I recorded this years ago. Pisgah. The top of Pisgah, not Pikgah. Sorry about that. But let's see here, 23:8. How shall I curse whom El has not cursed, or how shall I defy whom Yahweh has not defied? And let's take a look here at Galatians 3:13. Messiah has redeemed us from the curse of the Torah, which curse of breaking it. Not that the Torah itself is a curse, but Deuteronomy 28. We're going to read from it a little bit later. But there's the blessings and the curse. Blessings if you keep it, curse if you break it. And so we, understanding that we've fallen short, Messiah redeemed us from the curse of the Torah, being made a curse for us. For it is written, "Curse is everyone that hangs on a tree." And so that's basically what we have to understand now, is that the curse has been lifted off of us, and it's like we can only be cursed if we fall into what ends up happening here, because you see that Yahusha is like, no, you can't curse them, you can't curse them. But we'll see in chapter 25, they end up getting cursed, but it's because of their own actions. And that's why that Revelation 2 warning is there of that error of Balaam. And we'll get to that in a second. But some interesting prophecies here about, from what I understand, the end times, that Balaam is seeing not just Messiah's day, but even like in the last days. And we'll see it in the next chapter. He'll say, I'm here to share with you what will happen to your people in the last days. And if you guys have been following along here in the Torah portions, and maybe some of the teachings at Ancient Path Revivals, I have been re-uploading them on Parable as like End Times America stuff, House of David understandings, Second Exodus stuff. But it says, from the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone, or abad, or separately, set apart, and shall not be reckoned among the nations. And so this is kind of what we've been talking about. Like in Revelation 11, there's this measuring line that goes to basically measure a city. And it's kind of a lot of what you see in the prophets, that he has this city that's set apart from everything else, and it's like he protects this city, and then everything outside of it is be trodden underfoot of the Gentiles. So taking a look at this dwelling set apart, it's kind of interesting. It kind of ties to a Micah 7 prophecy. It says, Micah 7:14, it says, "Feed your people with the rod, the flock of your heritage, which dwell solitary in the wood." That's that same word is translated differently. This is solitarily. The people shall dwell alone. Same word, abad. The people shall dwell solitarily and not be reckoned among the nations. And so this is in Micah 7. This is a prophecy, in my opinion, of the last days, like the second Exodus talk. So feed your people with the rod, the flock of your heritage, which dwell abad, solitarily in the wood. This is some interesting like poetic descriptors. In the wood, in the midst of Carmel, let them feed in Bashan. These are like just poetic descriptors. And Gilead, as in the days of old. Now, what's interesting about so what some of these words mean. Which dwell solitarily in the wood is the forest. It in my opinion, directly links to a prophecy we found in Isaiah 35. We'll read in a second. But in the midst of Carmel, which means garden land, this really, in my opinion, points to a lot of the book of the Song of Solomon, where he points out his beloved in the last days, which ends up being like a garden that he goes to and checks on, waters, loves the fragrance, eats the fruit of it. And so he's talking about a people that dwell in his garden land. Let them feed in Bashan. Bashan means fruitful. So this place bears fruit. That could be very physical. They could have fruit trees. They could have fruitful livestock. They could have, but really, in my opinion, this means bringing forth the fruit that Yahweh desires, which is obedience to His Torah, in the light of Yahushua, which is, of course, in spirit and truth. Which truth being Torah, spirit being love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, long-suffering, self-control. But nevertheless, this place is fruitful in that it obeys His Torah and does so in the spirit. Gilead, interesting. It means a rocky region. Yeah. So, but going back to the people who dwell set apart or abad in the wood, I want to take a look at a couple passages in Isaiah here. Isaiah 35, 1-2, the wilderness or the desert. So this is kind of pointing us back to this second Exodus kind of thing. So the wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them. The desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice even with joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be given unto it. The excellency of Carmel, there's that garden land, and of Sharon. They shall see the glory of Yahweh and the excellency of our Elohim. So even though a nation can be void of any fruit, out of nowhere, something fruitful is going to spring up in this barren desert wasteland. And consider that if an entire nation is void of the Torah of the Most High and have gone astray, that nation is like a wilderness. That's what Jerusalem was identified as after it was gone astray and after it was destroyed. It should be no fruitful tree shall grow there. It shall be a place of briars and thorns and a place of dragons and jackals. And so it's describing a spiritually barren wilderness. And so in a similar way, in the end days, out of nowhere, right, something beautiful is going to blossom up. And I always love this passage because in my high school years, I lived in La Quinta, which is kind of the Palm Springs area. It's kind of the low desert of Southern California. And it is a desert. It's very similar to like the Phoenix climate there. 120, 125 degree summers. They say it's just dry heat, so it's not that bad. Listen, it's hot. I mean, it is hot. I remember playing football there and those 2-a-days there. And man, yeah. And then running track and cross country out there in the desert. Like, wow, that was hard times. But anyways, what was cool there is like it didn't rain much, but when it rained, just the most beautiful plants would blossom up. And I think that's pointing to this spiritual end times here. But going to this place here, this is going to really go into more of what we talk about later. We opened with Genesis 1 and the original intentions for mankind. But Isaiah 32, pointing to the end days, behold, a king shall reign in righteousness, and princes shall rule in right ruling, judgment. This is part of his Torah. And a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, and as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. And so I believe this is talking about those people who dwell set apart. And the eyes of them that see shall not be dim, and the ears of them that hear shall hearken. So this is a people that's going to be obedient, and their eyes opened to Yahweh's Torah. Going down to verse 13, upon the land of my people shall come up thorns and briars, yea, upon all the houses of joy in the joyous city, because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the cities shall be left, the forts and the towers shall be dens forever, a joy of wild donkeys, a pasture for flocks. So this is kind of putting some scripture to what I was portraying earlier about, a barren wasteland. So this is how it's going to be, until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field. This is This is Gilead, this is Sharon, this is that Lebanon, this is that fruitful place, and the fruitful field shall be counted for a forest. And so this is kind of going back here, which the people which dwell solitarily in the wood. It's that same word, wood and forest, just translated differently. So this is talking about end times people which dwell solitarily in the forest. So until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted as a forest, then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, right, in the desert. This is that second Exodus stuff. And righteousness remain in the fruitful field, and the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness quietness and assurance forever. And my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation, and in sure dwellings, and in quiet resting places. When it shall hail, coming down the forest, and the city shall be in a low place, blessed are ye that sow beside all waters, and send forth there the feet of the ox and the donkey. Anyways, I know this is a lot of poetic talk here, but this is, in my opinion, what it's pointing towards. Balaam is seeing that from the tops of the rocks I see him, from the hills I behold him, the people shall dwell set apart and shall not be reckoned among the nations. Why? Because Yahweh is going to measure it out. Rise and measure the temple of Elohim and the altar and them that worship therein. What is the temple? But a gathering of his stones together that proclaim his name, that proclaim his Torah, that walk as he walked. The house of Yahusha, the house of David, right, is what he came back to restore. And we see that being carried out very early on with Acts 2. The Acts 2 gathering of the saints. And so going down here to verse 21, it's interesting here. He says, he has not beheld iniquity in Yaakov, neither has he seen perverseness in Yasharel. Yahweh Eloheinu is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. And so obviously we know that could definitely apply to them back then, because even though they sinned and sinned and sinned, when he forgave, he forgave. And so at this time they're forgiven. And so he's like, it's out of sight. It's been stricken out. But I also think he's pointing towards an end times remnant that has the blood of Yahusha covered over them, and they are walking in spirit and truth. And he's seeing a future end times remnant that one day, right, that Yahweh Eloheinu will be with them, and the shout of a king will be among them. And this is what we should be looking forward to. This is what we've been talking about with the house of David being restored in the last days, and the second Exodus, and the gathering of the saints, and the coming back to him in spirit and truth. Because when those people come together, and when hail and all these things come down, right, they will be protected. Why? They will be protected from the tempest. Just like Israel was in Goshen, just like Israel was here from the attempts of Balak and Balaam, because they kept his ways. So Micah 7:11-17, in that day your walls are to be built. So this is the rebuilding of his temple, his walls. So we saw it in them coming back from Babylon, the days of Nehemiah and Ezra and Zerubbabel. But in the last days, this is going to happen again. We saw in the days of the apostles building it back up, but of course that got broken down. But in the last days, it's going to be built back up and it's going to stay. So in the day that your walls are rebuilt, in that day shall the decree be far removed. In that day also he shall come even to you from Assyria, and from the fortified cities, and from the fortress even to the river, and from sea to sea, and from mountain to mountain. So this is like second Exodus talk. He's gathering them from everywhere. Notwithstanding, the land shall be desolate because of them that dwell therein, for the fruit of their doing. So in this land where this is happening, it's going to be a desert wasteland because of the fruit of their doings. Though they may say they follow Elohim, if they're keeping the ways of devils and man-made traditions, they are desolate. They are not bringing forth the fruit he wants. So even though this land may be a Christian nation, it speaks it portrays itself as a lamb, but speaks as a dragon. Following the ways of the nations, following the ways of the traditions of men is not bringing forth the fruit that Yahweh wants. So notwithstanding, the land shall be desolate because of them that dwell therein, for the fruit of their doings. Feed thy people with the rod, the flock of your heritage, which dwell solitarily in the woods. So, and you know what? This is people scattered all over the place, dwelling separately. And doesn't mean disconnect yourself from everyone around you. It's still our job, and it's still the priesthood of Yahusha to preach repentance, to preach love and shalom and reconciliation to people. But in their practices, in their observance and setup and their love for Yahweh, they are going to be set apart. They're going to be different. So, which dwell solitarily in the wood, in the midst of Carmel, let them feed in Bashan and Gilead, as in the days of old. According to the days of your coming out of the land of Egypt, will I show unto him marvelous things. So this is second Exodus talk. The nations shall see and be confounded at all their might. They shall lay their hand upon their mouth. Their ears shall be deaf. They shall lick the dust like a serpent. They shall move out of their holes like worms of the earth. They shall be afraid of Yahweh Elohim and shall fear because of you. So something in the last days is going to happen that is going to spark the attention of the nations, and there will be a all eyes on a certain area. Let's go to verse 23. Surely there is no enchantment against Yaakov. Neither is there any divination against Yasharel. According to this time, it shall be said of Yaakov and Yasharel, what has El wrought? So there's going to be this like, wow, what has Yahweh done, right? He's going to do something. He's going to exalt some people. And I believe it's those who are believers in Yahusha, first and foremost. They have to have the blood of Yahusha, but they are different. They are walking like him. They are obedient to the Torah. We know that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. Every tongue that shall rise against you in judgment shall you condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh, and their righteousness is of me, says Yahweh. Now, this isn't like just that we believe in him and then he just covers us in all of our actions. No. That our behavior is wrought in him. It's from him. It stems from him. It's like he is the branch and we are, he is the vine and we are the branches. And so it's like we grow off of him. Psalm 91. I'm going to skip this, but if you, this is just showing that those who trust in him, where is it? You shall tread upon the lion and the adder, the young lion and the dragon shall you trample under feet. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high. This is really important, actually, for later, because he has known my name. So literally those who know his name, and we know for a lot of us, it began with, wait, his name is not the Lord? It's not God? It's not even Jesus? Wait, what's going on here? His name is Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh or Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. Yahweh, or some say Jehovah or Yahweh. I don't think that's the contention here, because I think this is a lot more than the pronunciation. This is about his whole character. Hence, Exodus 34 and the revealing of the name of Yahweh, which reveals his character, that he's merciful, long-suffering, he's kind, he's quick to forgive, but does not let the guilty go free, abundant in truth, right? The Torah. So his name is all-encompassing, but if I could summarize it, it's those who keep his ways. So those who keep his ways will he set on high. And those who call upon his name, call upon him as those who call upon him in truth and in righteousness. Right? He's going to honor those people who do that, because it shows you actually trust him. So the people shall rise up, and this is an end times prophecy. Obviously, it was happening then with the time of Moses and the time of Joshua, destroying the nations. But listen, it's going to happen in a much bigger and greater way. Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion, and lift him up himself as a young lion. He shall not lie down until he eat of the prey, and drink of the blood of the slain. So I believe Micah 5 talks about this. The remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people as a dew from Yahweh, as the showers upon the grass, that tarries not for man, nor waits for the sons of men. And this is a parable. This goes back to 2 Samuel 23, the last words of David, that the king who rules in righteousness is one who comes as showers upon the mown grass. And so this is talking about a people who are obedient to the Torah of the Most High, that tarries not for man, nor waits for the sons of men. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the nations, in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest. There's that word again. This is the people that dwell solitarily in the forest. As a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who, if he goes through, both treads down and tears in pieces, and none can deliver. Your hand shall be lifted up upon your adversaries, and all your enemies shall be cut off. And it shall come to pass in that day, says Yahweh, that I will cut off your horses out of the midst of you, and I will destroy your chariots. And I will cut off the cities of your land and throw down all your strongholds. And I will cut off witchcrafts out of your hand. And you shall have no more soothsayers. Your graven images also will I cut off, and your standing images out of the midst of you. And you shall no more worship the work of your hands. And I will pluck up your groves out of the midst of you. So will I destroy your cities. And I will execute vengeance and anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard. So I believe that he's pointing to this end times remnant which shall dwell set apart and will be keeping his ways and will be protected and one day lifted up and exalted by Yahweh. But because they follow the doctrines of Yahusha, they don't lift themselves up. They don't walk like Pharisees and Sadducees, right? They walk humbly like Yahusha, and they don't take the highest seat. Even though they may be kings and priests, they don't boast themselves. They don't exalt themselves. As a matter of fact, they're humble. They meek. They take the lowest seat that Yahusha himself may put them in the highest seat. Let's go to chapter 24. There's a lot more to Balaam and these prophecies here. Let's go to Numbers 23. Let's listen up here. Numbers 24.
Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 24. And when Balaam saw that it pleased Yahweh to bless Yashrael, he went not, as at other times, to seek for enchantments, but he set his face toward the wilderness. And Balaam lifted up his eyes, and he saw Yashrael abiding in his tents according to their tribes. And the Ruach Elohim came upon him. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam, the son of Beor, has said, and the man whose eyes are open has said, he has said, which heard the words of El, which saw the vision of El Shaddai, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open.
How goodly are your tents, O Yaakov, and your tabernacles, O Yashrael. As the valleys are they spread forth, as gardens by the river's side, as the trees of line aloes which Yahweh has planted, and as cedar trees beside the waters. He shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters. And his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. El brought him forth out of Mitzrayim. He has, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. He shall eat up the nations his enemies, and shall break their bones, and pierce them through with his arrows. He couched, he lay down as a lion, and as a great lion. Who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blesses you, and cursed is he that curses you.
And Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam, and he smote his hands together. And Balak said unto Balaam,
I called you to curse my enemies, and behold, you have altogether blessed them these 3 times. Therefore now flee to your place. I thought to promote you into great honor, but lo, Yahweh has kept you back from honor.
And Balaam said unto Balak,
Spoke I not also to your messengers which you sent unto me, saying, If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandment of Yahweh, to do either good or bad of my own mind. But what Yahweh says, that will I speak. And now, behold, I go unto my people. Come therefore, and I will advertise what this people shall do to your people in the latter days.
And he took up his parable and said, Balaam, the son of Beor, has said, and the man whose eyes are open has said. He has said, which heard the words of El, and knew the knowledge of El Elyon, which saw the visions of El Shaddai, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open.
I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Yaakov, and a scepter shall rise out of Yashrael, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth. And Edom shall be a possession, Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Yashrael shall do valiantly. Out of Yaakov shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remains of the city.
And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said,
Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever.
And he looked on the Keniyim, and took up his parable and said,
Strong is your dwelling place, and you put your nest in a rock. Nevertheless, Gani shall be wasted, until Ashur shall carry you away captive.
And he took up his parable and said,
Alas, who shall live when El does this? And ships shall come from the coast of Kittim, and shall afflict Ashur, and shall afflict Eber, and he also shall perish forever.
And Balaam rose up and went and returned to his place, and Balak also went his way.
Okay, so even to this moment, Balaam still seems righteous. We'll see in 25 what ends up happening, of course, but still to this day, he's like, hey, I'm sorry you paid for bad news, but I told you from the get-go, I can only do or tell you what he says. So, man, to this point, Balaam is pretty faithful, other than that one mess up, with going with them when he wasn't supposed to and beating his donkey senseless. And so, yeah, there's some definitely, and I'm sitting not here to be Balaam's cheerleader here. I'm just wanting to point out what's clearly written here is that you've got a man that went to a rich nation, and he could have disobeyed Yahusha directly and cursed them or tried to, whatever. But he's like, no, I'm following Yahusha. I'm following Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, right? Sorry if that's confusing for some of you that may not agree to understanding I have of the deity. But going back to 24 verse 1, it says, when Balaam saw that it pleased Yahweh to bless Yasharel, right, he went not as other times to seek for enchantments, but he set his face towards the wilderness. So again, he's like, and I know that's where I'm at. It reminds me of Brother D, one of Brother D's songs. Like, I want to know what breaks your heart. I want to know what makes you smile. Like, I want to know what pleases him. Like, I look around at this earth and what Yah's created, and I look at my sons and daughters. I look at my wife, and I'm like, I love you. Thank you for all this that you've created. I'm thankful for the sky, for the clouds, and so it's like, I want to do what pleases him, and we should be people that do that. And so we should be interested in what he loves and what he hates, and that's basically, the Torah is the baseline of that, and the rest of the story expounds on that, but this is the base of what he likes and doesn't like. And so I want to learn more, and that's the heart of these Torah portions, is I just want to draw near to him. I want to worship him how he wants to be worshipped, because he deserves it. But what's interesting, so of course, Balaam is like, I want to know what pleases him. And he sets his face towards Israel and looks at the tents, and he's like, wow. He sees Israel in order and how it's supposed to be. Because they're camping in rank and file and order and structured, and so Balaam looks at all that, and he's like, wow, right? How goodly are your tents, O Yaakov, and your tabernacles, O Yasharel. And he just, obviously beautiful language here. I'll never forget, I think it was Sukkot 23 or 24. I kept walking out of my camper and just looking around and be like, wow. And just seeing all the people, camping, and we're just like, wow, how goodly are your tents, O Yaakov, And those of you that may be judging me for being a camper, we're back in the tent again. I don't judge anyone that does a camper during Sukkot, and we did it for several years, but anyways, I don't even know why I even mentioned that. Let's just the interesting part here is that when you see, especially at Sukkot, you see all these Israelites camping out and just wanting to worship Yahweh. It's just to me, it's just heartwarming. It's just amazing. But going here to more other parts here. So I believe he's talking about a people. He's prophesying a people, talking about this garden, right? As the valleys of this spread forth, as gardens by the riverside. I was mentioning earlier that he's describing this place, and one of the mentions was it? What was it? Which one was garden bed? I had it up here. Carmel, yeah, garden land. And so, as gardens by the riverside, and we know that, to me, this is pointing to this is Psalm 1 people that meditate on the Torah day and night, because they shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that brings forth their fruit in the season. Their leaf shall not wither, and whatever they do shall prosper. As the trees of line aloes, which Yahweh has planted. In thinking of Isaiah 61, the planting of Yahweh, that he may be glorified. And these are trees of righteousness. And as cedar trees beside the waters, which waters, of course? His waters. He shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag. Who's king? Yahweh's king. This is the Davidic promise forever. His king shall be higher than Agag. Agag is over top or something. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Whoever they try to set on top, it's like Yahweh's going to set his king to be on top. And his kingdom shall be exalted. El brought him forth out of Egypt. And that's the call for all of us, isn't it? All of his people. He wants to set us as king, right? In the book of Revelation, he has made us kings and priests unto our Elohim. So El brought him forth out of Mitzrayim. He has, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. We're going to dig into this word here in a little bit. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies, and shall break their bones and pierce them through with his arrows. This is prophetic. This is in the future still. He lay down as a lion, and as a great lion, who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blesses you, and curses he that curses you. This really points me, of course, to Abraham. Abraham really was a good prophetic foreshadow of an even greater time to come. Abraham was meek, he was gentle, he was lowly, long-suffering, but you mess with his family, you steal Lot and his people with him, then Abraham became like a lion, right? Lions can be poked at and prodded, and they'll just sit there and like, fine, whatever. But when those boundaries get crossed, they get fierce and they take care of business, and that's what happened with Abraham. He lay down as a lion, right? Who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blesses you, right? Abraham and his descendants, and curses he that curses you. But when it was time for business, Abraham and his 318, they got up and destroyed 5 kingdoms. If the book of Jasher recounts it correctly, I think it was 800 or 900,000, somewhere in there. But 318, I believe that could happen. Right? And so I believe the end times remnant is also like this. And it centers on this word unicorn, which is the Hebrew word re'em. And I want to take a look at some of the other passages that have this. Might be a little bit longer Torah portion. This might be one of those topics where it's like, sorry, not sorry. Some of you that can't do the long ones, this may have to break it up in a couple. But Psalm 29, because there's this prophecy about it's this Davidic promise that I want to get to here. So Psalm 29, give unto Yahweh, O ye mighty, give unto Yahweh glory and strength. Give unto Yahweh the glory due unto his name. Worship Yahweh in the beauty of holiness. So it's like you want to worship him, do it in holiness. And obviously the Torah is the baseline of instructing us how that's done. The voice of Yahweh is upon the waters. The Elohim of glory thunders. Yahweh is upon many waters. The voice of Yahweh is powerful. The voice of Yahweh is full of majesty. The voice of Yahweh breaks the cedars. Yea, Yahweh breaks the cedars of Lebanon. He makes them also to skip like a calf. Lebanon and Syrian like a young unicorn. So these are, again, these poetic words to just describe his people. Lebanon is like these beautiful peaks, the desirable peaks, with some of the best trees. And Syrian, forgive me, I don't remember what Syrian was. I'm going to look at that up really quickly. Syrian, where is this at? I thought I had this in my mind. I thought I had remembered. So Psalm 29:6. Forgive me, some of you that are waiting here. But it's Shabbat, right? Where are you going? Or maybe some of you, not all of you, watch this during Shabbats. Or there we go, Psalm. Syrian. Oh yeah, that's right. This was the interesting one. It says one of the it says breastplate. Sheeted with snow. Shirion, the same that is sheeted with snow, a peak of Lebanon. So Lebanon are these peaks, and then Shirion is like this peak of this peak. And consider, the promises for his people is like, you keep my Torah, I will set you on high. I'll make you to ride on the high places of the earth. So places like Lebanon, Syrian are the high places of the earth. So he makes them also to skip like a calf, Lebanon and Syrian like a young unicorn. So his people who are riding on the high places of the earth are likened to this re'em, this unicorn is the translation in the KJV. Wild bull is what one of the other translations. So the voice of Yahweh divides the flame of fire. The voice of Yahweh shakes the wilderness. Yahweh shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of Yahweh makes the hinds a calf and discovers the forest. So remember, these people dwell in the midst of the forest. And his temple does everyone speak of his glory. Yahweh sits upon the flood. Yea, Yahweh sits king forever. Yahweh gives strength unto his people. Yahweh bless his people with peace. And so these people that do come out of Egypt are the ones that are given the strength of a unicorn. We're going to read more about this. Psalm 92, it is a good thing to give thanks unto Yahweh and to sing praises unto your name, O Most High. You'll see this consistently. And this is why David was a man after Yahweh's own heart. It's the song. He loves singing to Yahweh. Even if you're not a great singer, just sing to him. And I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to give myself encouragement because I don't like the way I sing. Like, I'll record something and I'll just oh, I don't like it. But I shouldn't have that attitude, right? So I'm trying to encourage myself to sing more. I really want to sing. There was a time where I even my prayer, I was just like, you know what, Yahweh, I just want to, just play. I just want to play on strings to you, and I don't want to sing, And it's because it's a safe place for me to just be on the strings and just, whether it's keyboard or strings. I know the keyboard's not a string. But singing's out of my comfort zone. But I want to sing. I'm back in a place. I'm like, you know what? I do want to sing to you, Yahweh. And so it's good, right? It's good to sing him praises. It's like the fruit of the fruit that he wants. In my opinion, the fruit is the David stuff. It's the song and dance. That's like, because obviously when you have a group of people singing together, you're all saying the same thing at the same time. That's being of one mind and one accord, literally, physically, spiritually, hearts. But then dancing and singing together, now you're moving your whole body is moving to Yahweh. Because even if you're just swaying, almost all your body parts are moving, right? And so you're moving to the Creator, right? And so moving and singing. So that's why the enemy uses it. That's why in the negative way, it's like in a negative way. Super Bowl, right? Halftime show. It's always an offering to their God. And how is it expressed? Song and dance. They learned that, of course, from David, or they learned that from before. You even see that the time of, Elijah. That's after David, but the prophets of Baal were singing and dancing, and anyways. So just because the enemy does it doesn't mean that that's wrong. They're just using what's good for evil. Just like the devil has used all genres of music for evil. Well, it's time that we sing and dance to Yahweh. This is long-winded, sorry. To show forth the loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night. Upon an instrument of 10 strings, upon the psaltery, upon the harp with solemn sound. For you, O Yahweh, has made me glad through your work. I'll triumph in the work of your hands. O Yahweh, how great are your works, and your thoughts are very deep. A brutish man knows not, neither does a fool understand this. When the wicked spring as the grass, and when all the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is they that shall be destroyed forever. And that's why, even though this place is a barren wasteland, it's also called a forest, because there's obviously people flourishing everywhere. But you, O Yahweh, are most high forevermore. For lo, your enemies, O Yahweh, for lo, your enemies shall perish. All the workers of iniquity shall be scattered. But my horn shall you exalt like the horn of a unicorn. So this is the promise to David. You'll see, I shall be anointed with fresh oil. Mine eyes also shall see my desires on my enemies, and my ears shall hear my desire of the wicked that rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon, right? Why? Because when he keeps the Torah, he will be riding on the high places of the earth. Those that be planted in the house of Yahweh shall flourish in the courts of Yahweh. This goes back to this Revelation 11 stuff, measuring the temple of Yahweh and the altar of them that worship, but the court which is without the temple leave out, right? Those that be planted in the house of Yahweh shall flourish in the courts of our Elohim. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age, right? This is Ephratah. This is that fruitful, this is that Bashan, Gilead. This is that fruitful place, that rocky place. They shall be fat and flourishing to show that Yahweh is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. This is that promise to David. We see this recounted by Yahusha. Psalm 110, Yahweh said unto my master, sit you at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. Yahweh shall send the rod of your strength out of Zion, rule you in the midst of your enemies. So he's going to set up a kingdom in the midst of the enemies. Your people shall be willing in the day of your power, in the beauties of holiness. This is that term we saw a second ago about obedience to the Torah. In the beauties of holiness, from the womb of the morning, you have the dew of your youth. This, in my opinion, is that man-child born in Revelation 12 from the woman. The woman, of course, is the assembly. From the assembly is born. Yahweh has sworn and will not repent. You are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So this king is also a priest. Of course, we know that Yahusha came back to restore the Melchizedek priesthood, which existed, from my understanding, existed before the Levitical priesthood. The understanding I have is it started with Adam. I don't know all the successions, but we know at least Adam, at least Enoch, Noah, and I could be skipping some in between. These are just the ones that I understand. Noah, Shem, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then from Jacob it split up. We know that the Melchizedek order held the kingship, the priesthood, and the firstborn. The firstborn went to Joseph, kingship went to Judah, priesthood went to Levi. Then Yahusha rent that priesthood, restored that which was lost, brought back the Melchizedek order, and I believe that we are under him, under a Melchizedek order. So Yahweh at your right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the palaces with dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. So this is basically a takeover. So it says earlier, rule you in the midst of your enemies, but there's going to be a takeover. He shall drink of the brook of the way. This is the river of the way, the river of the Torah, the derek, the way. So because he drinks, he's a tree planted by this water, therefore shall he lift up the head. So this is the giving of the anointing of the horn. This is the giving of the power to David. Deuteronomy 33, 13 through 17. This is also kind of part of that power of that unicorn comes through that firstborn blessing that was given to Joseph. And of Joseph, he said, blessed of Yahweh be his land, for the precious things of heaven, for the dew and for the deep that coucheth beneath, and for the precious fruits brought forth by the sun, and for the precious things brought forth by the moon, and for the chief things of the ancient mountains, and for the precious things of the lasting hills, which, by the way, I believe, all throughout Scripture, I believe this North American continent is poetically talked about the ancient mountains. You see this also in Ezekiel 35 and 36 about the ancient mountains of Israel that have always been waste. They were desolate until the time appointed. Ancient mountains for the precious things of the lasting hills, and for the precious things of the earth and the fullness thereof, and for the goodwill of him that dwelt in the bush. Let the blessing come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the top of the head of him that was separated from his brethren. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock. His horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth, which I believe is ultimately prophesying. I believe there was a time that that Mediterranean area was that fruitful land, but just like he destroyed Shiloh, he destroyed that place, and I believe he's setting his eternal kingdom in the ancient mountains, the lasting hills. And I believe part of this prophecy here, with them he shall push the people together. This is second Exodus. This is a long process of a second Exodus. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. And this is why I believe this place is the fullness of the nations, the Melohai Goyim, which was the prophecy given to Ephraim. I believe this land can be properly identified as Ephraim. So let's go to also here in the Enoch dream. This is the end of the Enoch dream, and I believe this is pinpointing after the times the Messiah died, the disciples died off, and it says, "And I saw till in that manner 35 shepherds undertook the pasturing of the sheep." This is the Elohim, part of the 70 angelic rulers that ruled his people over the succession of time. Of course, they were divorced, banished, sent into the nations, and it was given the 70 shepherds to rule them in time. And they severally completed their periods, as did the first, and others received them into their hands to pasture them for their period, each shepherd in his own period. And after that I saw in my vision all the birds of heaven coming, the eagles, the vultures, the kites, the ravens. But the eagles led all the birds, and they began to devour those sheep, and to pick out their eyes, and devour their flesh. And the sheep cried out because their flesh was being devoured by the birds. This, I believe, is the time of the disciples, the Romans. And as for me, I looked and lamented in my sleep over that shepherd who pastured the sheep. And I think he's crying over the crucifixion of Yahusha. And I saw until those sheep were devoured by the dogs and eagles and kites, and they left neither flesh nor skin nor sinew remaining on them, till only their bones stood there, and their bones too fell to the earth, and the sheep became few. And so I believe this is the Ezekiel 37 view of the bones of Israel having no life, dwelling in the dust. Rome basically came in and killed or broke down the house that was being built up. And this is that time of the apostasy. And so now we have this period of apostasy here. It says, "And I saw until that 23 had undertaken the pasturing and completed in their several periods 58 times." So this is a long period. So out of the 70 angelic rulers, you have 58 periods. So now this long time of apostasy goes, right? The disciples die off. The Messianic kingdom basically is kind of, I guess, put on hold. I mean, because Yahusha came and restored that which was lost. That house of David was being restored. I mean, Peter said that's what Yahusha did. And you see the Acts 2 community, you see this spiritual house forming, and somehow Rome came in. Maybe they divided and conquered. Maybe after the apostles died off. Maybe it's just like how when Israel came out of Egypt, they had this small period, but right away, right after Moses died, and Joshua and Caleb, but that next generation, you saw that they were serving Baal. So it's like Yahusha came. Yahusha was the greater Moses, and the same thing happened. Rome came in and, got them serving Baal again very quickly through switching the Shabbat to Sunday, doing away with the feast days, doing Easter instead, and Christmas, and it's the same story, right? But now, after this long period of apostasy, but behold, lambs were born by those white sheep, and they began to open their eyes and to see, right? We read that earlier in Isaiah 32 and 35. The eyes of them that see shall not be dim, and the ears of them that hearken shall hear. So they began to see, and they cried to the sheep. They're like, hey, look, we got to keep the Torah, yay. They cried to them, but they did not hearken what they said to them, but were exceedingly deaf, and their eyes were very exceedingly blinded. And I saw in the vision how ravens flew upon those lambs, and took one of those lambs, and dashed the sheep in pieces, and devoured them. And I saw till horns grew upon those lambs. So now here's that sprouting. This is power. And the ravens cast down their horns. And isn't that how this is feeling spiritually for a lot of us? Like, he's giving us eyes, he's giving us ears, and we're growing, but boy, isn't the devil just cracking us down still, and beating us, and still dividing and going through assemblies, and there's divisions, and there's all this stuff, and that's how it's expressed today, in my opinion. So I saw till horns grew upon those lambs, and the raven cast down their horns. And I saw till there sprouted a great horn of one of those sheep, and their eyes opened. And so I think this is that end times fulfillment of the horn of David. And so it says here, I saw till there sprouted a great horn of one of those sheep, and their eyes were opened, and it looked at them, and their eyes were opened, and it cried to the sheep, and the rams saw it. So the leaders of the children of Israel saw it and ran to it. So there's like this gathering. There is this like moment of like, looks like Yahweh does something, like there's like this moment. Maybe this is that Isaiah promise, arise, for that light has come, and Yahweh has glorified you in the sight of the nations, and everyone's like, whoa, right? And so we do see that how the chronology of things, and we'll see it right here, that the true and righteous people gather to this central location, but also the wicked also gathered to try to destroy them. So it says the ram saw it and ran to it. To what's it? The sheep, to where a great horn sprouted. And notwithstanding, all those eagles and vultures and ravens and kites still kept tearing the sheep and swooping down upon them and devouring them. So it's like, even though there's this gathering and there is this like anointing, it looks like, of some sort, it's like the devil and who uses people and nations and whatever to do this. It says, still the sheep remained silent, but the rams lamented and cried out. And those ravens fought and battled with it, and they sought to lay low its horn, but they had no power over it. I saw till the shepherds and eagles and those vultures and kites came, and they cried to the ravens that they should break the horn of that ram, and they battled and fought with it, and battled with them, and cried that its help might come. And I saw till a great sword was given to the sheep, and the sheep proceeded against all the beasts of the field to slay them. So this is what we were reading earlier about the strength of the unicorn. They're like a lion that lays down, and that when they rise up, who can defeat them? And it's nobody. This is that moment, and all the beasts of the field and the birds of the heaven fled before their face. And I saw till that man who wrote down the names of the shepherds and carried up to the presence of the Lord of sheep, and helped it and showed it everything, had come down for the help of that ram. And I saw till Yahweh the sheep came unto them in wrath, and all who saw him fled, and they all fell into a shadow before his face. So what I'm reading here is that there's this long period of apostasy after the apostles, but at some point Yahweh starts anointing his people by giving them power. The devil sees it and like, there's the ones that have the testimony of Yahusha and keep the commandments, and they're gaining power and strength, which the scriptures shows everywhere is when you start keeping the Torah. Matter of fact, I think that might be next. We'll really hear this in a second. But so Yahweh gives them power. The devil sees this. There's this gathering. The devil sees it even more and comes against them. Yahweh does something powerful and gives them power or some sort, I don't know, and then like all the nations come against it, and then Yahushua comes down and is like, okay, enough, boom, and then just like, I think that's that Revelation 19 moment, and just throws them in the pit. And in my opinion, it's like a Korah moment, and I'll explain that in a second. So let's get to there. So Revelation 2:26 says, he that overcomes, and we overcome, of course, by the word of our testimony and by the blood of the Lamb, by keeping the commandments of Yahweh. He that overcomes keeps my works unto the end. To him will I give power over the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I receive my Father, and I'll give him the morning star. So Yahusha is telling us, people, men, that we can, if we overcome, that we will rule them. Now remember, that goes back to the very beginning. I believe Yahusha and the Father were like, hey, let's make man and let's make them to have dominion. So consider Yahusha's intention of man was that man would rule over the nation. So this is not a new concept. This is the end of the book reaffirming what was at the end of the book. And this is not about anybody being haughty or or self-exaltation. This is just what the scriptures plainly state. And so this is the promise given to us, that if we overcome and keep his work to the end, he will give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. Revelation 3:21, to him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne. What throne? The throne of David. Even as I also overcame and sat down with my Father in his throne. So there's like this succession. We see Yahusha is, at least again, my understanding, is basically God, the God of Israel, that's made Adam, that was on Mount Sinai, that was with Moses in the bush, that spoke to Abraham, that went to the prophets, that came and taught us all this stuff, but he said ultimately there's this Father that no one's ever seen or heard from that's greater than him, that he gets all his power from and all his doctrine from. So there's like the succession, and so Yahusha came down to restore what was lost so that he can go back to his place, which Stephen saw is in the heavens with his Father. And so his intention is to stay God. And his intention and promise to David was that he and his children would sit on the throne forever. And we'll restore those. We'll see those promises in a second. But that gives us a little context to this Psalm 2 end times vision, which says, why do the heathen rage? So the heathen are the people out of covenant that aren't believers. But also, and the people are signified as his people. So you have the nations and the people are joined together. Why do they imagine a vain thing? That's not a good thing. They're imagining something bad or wicked. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sits in the heavens shall laugh, which this is Yahusha. Yahusha is sitting in the heavens. He is Yahweh, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, shall have them in derision. Then he shall speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. Yahweh said unto me, you are my son. This day have I begotten you. And this is in the future now. Ask of me, and I shall give you the nations for your inheritance. This is promised to David in Psalm 18. He says, a people that don't know me shall serve me. And the uttermost parts of the heaven, or parts of the earth, I did not say heaven. Or I did say heaven, but on accident. So this is the promise. I shall give you the heathen for your inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. And remember, Yahusha told us that if we overcome, that we will do that very thing. So Psalm 2, in my opinion, is Yahusha sitting in the heavens, setting his people at some point. Remember, he says, rule you in the midst of your enemies. Yahweh is going to choose his people. He's going to select his people to be rulers. And I'll show you. I'll prove it to you again. Deuteronomy 28:1, the promise has been sitting here forever, and it shall come to pass if you shall hearken diligently. And this has been the problem, because people are partial, people throw away a lot of his law. If you shall hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh Elohim, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command you this day, that Yahweh Elohim will set you on high above all the nations of the earth. That is the promise that he's been giving to Adam and his descendants from the very beginning. The only catch is you got to keep his commandments. And we're learning they're not hard. They're not burdensome. They're actually the definition of love. It's the definition of his name. It's the definition of his loving kindness and his mercy. That's how we define it. Isaiah 58:13-14. If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, so don't do your study, right? And call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of Yahweh, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own ways, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words, then shall you delight yourself in Yahweh, and I'll cause you to ride upon the high places of the earth. That's that promise to his people, and that's why he calls them Lebanon. That's why he exalts them. Now, people that exalt themselves or try to rule through human law, or not human laws. I mean, not saying like stop signs and stuff are wicked. I'm talking about not ruling through the Torah of Yahweh. They're thieves and robbers. I will cause you to ride up on the high places of the earth, and will feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father, for the mouth of Yahweh spoken. And that was that promise back in, was it Micah 7? Right? Feed. It's these people that dwell set apart, feed them. Feed that people with the rod, with the flock of your heritage, which dwell solitarily in the wood. Let's go to, and so consider, to be these people must be meek and humble like Yahusha. Only getting stirred up. I mean, he flipped tables when it was time, just like Abraham. He when it was time. It says he couched. He lay down as a lion. That word couched, right, is to bend, to kneel, to sink down to one's knees. To bend the knee, by implication, to sink, to prostrate, to be lowly. And so I think of Abraham. Right? He was lowly. He lay down as a lion, as a great lion. Who shall stir him up? And when he was stirred up, he was ferocious. And of course, we saw, I don't know if you saw here, this he couched, he lay down as a lion, is a prophecy echoed in Genesis 49:8, given to Judah. Judah, you are he. And we know this was eventually realized further through the house of David. It's like there was a selection process. It's like, Abraham, you're going to be rulers. The ruler came through Judah, David, and Yahusha brought David and Aaron together, and Joseph all back together through his spiritual lineage. So it's not even about, physical lineage in my opinion. It's spiritually. It's those born again. Those are the true seed of Abraham. Judah, you are he whom your brethren shall praise. Your hand shall be in the neck of your enemies. Your father's children shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you are gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. This is what I believe we saw here in the book of Enoch. That, where was it here? You had this horn, which I believe this sprouted a great horn. We read about that in some of the prophecies of David. We'll read a few more here in a sec. I believe, if I haven't put it in here, it should be 132. Did I not put that in here? I'll make sure I put that in here. Psalm 132. But so that unto him shall the gathering of the children be, binding his foal into the vine, which means that I had to look this up because I really didn't know what that meant. Almost all the commentators say that this is showing how fruitful this place will be, because you don't tie a donkey to a vine, it'll like rip it up. But it's like the whole place is so abundant that he would be willing to do that. I don't know. If someone else helped me out there. And his donkey's colt into the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his choice clothes in the blood of grapes. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. And I want to go here. It says Shiloh, until Shiloh come. Shiloh is, the definition of Shiloh is, or would I have that here? Till Shiloh come, right here. Definition of Shiloh is he whose it is, that which it belongs to him, tranquility. And when I was reading that, it brought me to Ezekiel 21:26. Thus says Yahweh Elohim, remove the diadem and take off the crown. This shall not be the same. Exalt him that is low and abase him that is high. So it's like when he does this, like the haughty people will be made low, and those who are lowly and meek, the couch is down, will be exalted. That's the people taking the lowest seat, and Yahusha exalting to the highest. I will overturn it, and it shall be no more until he come whose right it is, and I will give it him. That's the promise from Yahweh, from Yahusha, our King. And that's what he was telling us in Revelation 2. Numbers 24:13. Right here again, Balaam's like, hey, you can fill my whole house with silver and gold. I can only do what Yahusha speaks, what Yahweh speaks. And here he tells us, verse 14, and he says right here, I'm going to advertise what this people shall do unto your people in the latter days. And, we need to. Oh yeah, I did have it here, Psalm 31:32. And before we get into that, I really want to talk about Moab, because here he talks about advertising what this people shall do to your people in the latter days. I believe he's talking about end times Moab, and I believe that's specifically talking about America. Numbers 21:28 from last week says, there is a fire gone out of Heshbon and a flame from the city of Sihon. It has consumed Ar of Moab and the lords of the high places of Arnon. There's something interesting about the house of David and just end times and Moab. Isaiah 16 says, send ye the lamb to the ruler of the land from Selah, that's the rock, to the wilderness, right? We've been talking a little bit about that already. Unto the mount of the daughter of Zion. For it shall be that as a wandering bird cast out of the nest, so the daughters of Moab shall be at the fords of Arnon. Remember last week I was telling you about, hey, I think there's something in the future that is to be at the fords of Arnon. And this is part of it. It says, take counsel, execute judgment, make your shadow as the night in the midst of the noonday, hide the outcasts, right? The people who've been thrown out, hide the outcast, bewray not him that wanders. Let my outcast dwell with you, Moab. Be a covert to them from the face of the spoiler. For the extortioner is at an end, the spoiler ceases, the oppressors are consumed out of the land. And in mercy shall the throne be established, and he shall sit upon it in truth. So in the Torah, in the tabernacle, the house of David, judging, seeking judgment, and hasting righteousness. And so the house of David gets formed in this wilderness, in this place that's called Moab, this place that is prideful, very proud, haughty, liars. In that place, the throne of David is going to be built back up. And this place, this throne of David is going to be a group of outcasts. Let my outcast dwell with you, Moab. Just like David was. The people threw him out, right? The giant killer. His son was able to get the people to hate him. Throw him out. Isaiah 25:6-7. And in this mountain shall Yahweh of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees, a feast of fat things full of marrow, of wines on the lees well refined. And he will destroy in this mountain, and we'll see that this is Moab, he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all the people and the veil that is spread over all the nations. We'll see. I know I've been talking all around it, but in 25 of Numbers, we'll finish with it, that the people ended up basically eating and drinking to Baal, to false gods. And so they were tricked into cursing themselves. And so Moab basically, they tricked the people into cursing themselves. And you'll see that this mountain, Moab, is the seat of this deception, right? So in this mountain is the face. So the face is like so even though all nations are walking in deception, this mountain is the face of the covering cast over all the people and the veil that is spread over all the nations. So this place is the seat of lies and wickedness. Verse 10, for in this mountain shall the hand of Yahweh rest, and Moab shall be trodden down under him, even as straw is trodden. So this Moab is extremely important in the last days. So Jeremiah 48:9, give wings unto Moab, that it may flee and get away, for the cities thereof shall be desolate, without any to dwell therein. Cursed be he that does the work of Yahweh deceitfully. So Moab does the work of Yahweh deceitfully. Cursed be he that keeps back his sword from blood. Moab has been at ease from his youth. So from the very inception of this country has been at ease and has settled on his lees and has not been emptied from vessel to vessel. So neither has he gone into captivity. So this nation, since its inception, has not been fully taken over and gone into captivity. Though there's been war and an attempt to it, would not be overcome. A lot to do with it is because it has a huge moat around it, right? It's the most easily defendable nation there is. Therefore, his taste remains in him, and his scent is not changed. This is, in my opinion, this is pointing to America. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction hastens fast. All you that are about him, excuse me, bemoan him, and all you that know his name, his Torah, his character, say, how is the strong staff broken and the beautiful rod. There's going to be destruction coming to this country. Verse 25, the horn, the power of Moab is cut off, and his arm is broken, says Yahweh, making him drunken, right? Go astraying from the Torah, for he has magged himself against Yahweh. Moab also shall wallow in his vomit. He shall also be in derision. This is parable talk for going astray from the Torah. Verse 28, O you that dwell in Moab, leave the cities and dwell in the rock, and be like the dove that makes her nest in the side of the hole's mouth. In my opinion, this goes back to this place, this Gilead, this rocky region. Be like the dove that makes her nest in the sides of the hole's mouth. How do you reach these high places? The promise is, if you keep the Torah, I will set you and to ride or to rest on the high places of the earth. We have heard the pride of Moab. He is exceeding proud. It's America. His loftiness, his arrogancy, and his pride, and the haughtiness of his heart. I know his wrath, says Yahweh, but it shall not be so. His lies shall not so affect it. Therefore I will howl for Moab. I will cry out for all of Moab. My heart shall mourn. Why? Is this not the nation that should know him, that professes his son, and has this message going out to the nations of the salvation through belief in the one who died on the cross? That is true. But isn't that where the truth almost stops? We know that Paul says those that believed and repented and believe in Messiah have become the seed of Abraham. So these are his people, but they're astray. That's why they're drunk and pride and haughty. So going back to this Moab Heshbon thing, they that fled stood under the shadow of Heshbon because of the forest, but a fire shall come forth out of Heshbon, and a flame from the midst of Sihon, and shall devour the corners of Moab, and the crown of the head of the tumultuous one. So right in the center of this country is going to come its own destruction. Why? Because Yahweh is going to set his own throne right in the middle of this country. And so that's what Balaam is prophesying. I will advertise what will happen to this people in the last days. And he says, I shall see him now, or I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob. And this is what I believe Yahushua is talking about when he promised his people that, where is it? The one that overcomes and keeps his work to the end, will he give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. I will give him the morning star. So this overcomer will be given the morning star. A star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter, a ruler. This is a promise given to David, and reinforced by Yahushua himself, shall rise out of Yasharel, and shall smite the corners of Moab. So right in the middle of Moab, right in this Gilead, rocky region, Yahweh is going to rise up the scepter, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Seth. And Edom shall be a possession. I believe also another poetic name for America. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies. Yashreel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion. There's rulership. Given to who? Right? At the very beginning. Who did he give this to? Where was I? Oh, yeah. Sorry. So out of Jacob, out of Jacob, shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remains of the city. So this is the promise given to David. We're talking about Enoch, this horn, this unicorn. Psalm 132, Yahweh, remember David in all his afflictions, how he sware unto Yahweh and vowed unto the mighty Elohim of Jacob, surely I will not come into the tabernacle of my house, nor go up into my bed. I will not give sleep to my eyes, nor slumber to my eyelids, until I find out a place for Yahweh, and habitation for the mighty El of Jacob. Lo, we heard it at Ephratah. This is the fruitful place. We found it in the fields of the wood. This is what we were talking about earlier. We will go into his tabernacles. We will worship at his footstool. Arise, O Yahweh, unto your rest, you and the ark of your strength. Let your priests be clothed with righteousness, and thy saints shout for joy. For thy servant David's sake, turn not away the face of your anointed. Yahweh has sworn in truth unto David, right? He will not turn from it. The fruit of your body will I set upon your throne. If your children will keep my covenant and my testimony that I shall teach them, their children shall also sit upon your throne forever. That's like it's a promise, right? For Yahweh has chosen Zion. He has desired it for his habitation. This is my rest forever. Here will I dwell, for I have desired it. Remember, he said just a moment ago, in this mountain shall the hand of Yahweh rest. And it's this poetic place that's called Moab. It's the ancient hills of Israel that have always been waste. That is, of course, until the Ancient of Days himself comes and sits down. And it's our job, brothers and sisters, to prepare the way of the Master once again, to prepare the house of the Master, that he'll come and dwell in his house forever, that he will sit upon his throne. And yes, he will then also set his people on the very same. I will abundantly bless, so here will I dwell, I have desired it. I will abundantly bless her provision. I will satisfy her poor with bread. I will also clothe her priests with salvation, and her saints shall shout aloud for joy. There, so this place, will I make the horn of David to bud. I have ordained a lamp for mine anointed. His enemies will I clothe with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish. So this promise was realized a little further down the road in Jeremiah 33:14. Behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that I will perform that good thing which I have promised unto the house of Israel, unto the house of Judah. In those days and at that time will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land. In those days Judah shall be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell safely, right? Set apart. And this is the name wherewith she shall be called, Yahweh our righteousness. For thus says Yahweh, which, again, from my perspective, this is the same Yahusha I understand. This is Yahusha, part of the Godhead Elohim, that's promising to David, David shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel. Neither shall the priests, the Levites, want a man before me to offer burnt offerings, and to kindle meat offerings, and to do sacrifice continually. And the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah, saying, Thus says Yahweh, if you can break my covenant of the day and my covenant of the night, that there should be not day and night in their season, then may also my covenant be broken with David my servant, that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne, and with the Levites, the priests my ministers. I mean, is that promise true or not? As the hosts of heaven cannot be numbered, neither the sand of the sea measured, so will I multiply the seed of David my servant, and the Levites that minister unto me. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto Jeremiah, saying, Consider you not what this people have spoken, saying, The two families which Yahweh hath chosen, he has even cast them off. Thus they have despised my people, that they should no more be a nation before them. So basically, people are saying, yeah, the throne of David and the priesthood, it's over with. Thus says Yahweh, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinances of heaven and earth, then I will cast away the seed of Jacob and David my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy on them. So this is what I believe the second Exodus looks like, in my opinion. This is a group of people coming back together and restoring the house of David, which we see, the best of our understanding. Yahusha came, restored the tabernacle of David, and showed it unto his disciples, and the disciples are like, all right, let's put down selfishness, and let's live together, and let's come as building blocks, right, as living stones, built up a spiritual house that he can come and be God in, come and be Elohim inside of. And so we know that was broken down for a time, in a time of apostasy, but in the end times, we have to do this. So this is in the book of Nazarene, chapter 13, verse 14. It says, Yahusha said, there is the kingdom of the Ruach and the kingdom of the flesh. Yahweh rules the first himself, but the second he rules through his viceroy, man. But man tries to set himself up as an independent ruler, making his own laws and setting aside those of the sovereign. When the viceroy, man, ceases to rebel and governs in accordance with the decrees of the sovereign, him, that will be the rule of Elohim. And that's what I believe has to start. I believe we have to come together, walk in his Torah, and there's more than that, of course. But walking this out, I believe at some point when he's ready and when it's ordered enough for him and made ready enough for him, he will come. and he'll subdue the nations, and he'll come down for that help. But I believe he's giving horns. I believe he's anointing his people like we read in Enoch there. And I believe that gathering has got to happen. That second Exodus has got to happen there in the midst of Moab. And Yahweh promises he will set his throne and he will establish it in Moab. And then Moab will be trodden underneath. All right, let's finish up. So that's some end times prophecies. That's what Balaam was talking about. And here we'll see this is where Balaam goes astray. We won't see it implicit but by implication. It's not implicitly stated by implication. Is that even the right English? See, I'm not a scholar. I'm sorry. I don't even know what I'm saying. Let's read in Numbers 25.
Bemidbar, Numbers chapter 25. And Yashrael abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their Elohim. And the people did eat, and bowed down to their Elohim. And Yashrael joined himself unto Baal Peor. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Yashrael. And Yahweh said unto Moshe,
Take all the heads of the people, and hang them up before Yahweh against the sun, that the fierce anger of Yahweh may be turned away from Yasharel.
And Moshe said unto the judges of Yashrael, Slay ye every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor. And behold, one of the children of Yashrael came and brought unto his brethren a Midianiteth woman, in the sight of Moshe, and in the sight of all the assembly of the children of Yashrael, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the assembly. And when Pinechas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aharon the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the assembly and took a javelin in his hand. And he went after the man of Yashrael into the tent, and thrust both of them through, the man of Yashrael and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Yashrael. And those that died in the plague were 24,000.
Wow. Phinehas. We're going to focus on Phinehas next week and give him the recognition and honor is due to him. And so, consider there's a time and place for stuff like this, and that'll be the theme, honestly, of next week. More of like the Abraham stuff, like meek, humble, lowly, but listen, when it's time to defend Yahweh's honor or defend your family or righteousness, you need to become like that lion. We're not called to be a bunch of pushovers, letting people come in and have their way with our women and children, and just no. But we'll really zone in on Phinehas next week. Let's go back here. So there's so much here, and in my opinion, so much related to today's world, and even in the Torah movement, just seeing people kind of like encouraging people to go back to Christmas. And Christmas, it's like, I don't care how you slice it, has connections to sun worship. And you see here, take the heads of the people, hang them up before Yahweh and against the sun. And we see it in some of the prophets, specifically I think Jeremiah 8. Their bones were laid out before the sun, moon, and the stars, whom they loved and who they worshipped. So sun worship is nothing new under the sun. And basically what happened here is Balaam finally was like, you know what, I want my reward. How can I get my reward and still obey Yahweh technically? And so he ended up giving counsel to Balak to be like, you know what, hey, they can't be cursed, but you can get them to curse themselves. This is the Aramaic, so maybe some interpolation, but this is what I believe this is what happened. It says, and now behold, I return to my people. Come, I will give you counsel. Go, furnish tavern houses, and employ seductive women to sell food and drinks cheaply, and to bring this people together to eat and drink and commit whoredom with them, that they may deny their Elohim. Then in a brief time they will be delivered into your hand, and many of them fall. Nevertheless, after this they will still have dominion over your people at the end of days. And Balaam rose up and went to return to his place, and Balak also went up to his way, and appointed the daughters of the Midianites for the tavern booths at Beth Jeshimon, by the snow mountain, where they sold sweet meats cheaper than their price, after the counsel of Balaam, the wicked, at the dividing of the way. So Balaam, possibly a wicked man who repented and walked with Elohim, tricked Yahweh's people into sin and death for profit gain. And quite frankly, people who are leading Yah's people back to sun worship, knowingly or unknowingly, are doing the work of Balaam. And a lot of times you see there is a financial purpose for it. Like there is some financial gain for that decision ultimately be made. And so again, Revelation 2:13, I know your works and where you dwell, even where Satan's seat is, and you hold fast my name and have not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr who was slain among you, where Satan dwells. But I have a few things against you, because you have there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication. So have you there also them that hold the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, with thing I also hate. And so it's like, that term, a little leaven leavens the whole lump. So it's like you can teach even Torah obedience, but if you're like, hey, well, this stuff is okay, this little bit of sun worship's okay, man, error of Balaam. And that's really the heart of 2 Peter 2. Now we can read that. This, I think, brings full circle my thoughts of Balaam, which is that he will end here and start here, or we'll start here and end here. It says, for it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than, after they have known it, to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. But it has happened unto them according to the true proverb, the dog has returned to its own vomit again, and the sow or the pig that was washed to her own wallowing in the mire. I think ultimately that's what happened to Balaam. I think he went back to his original sin, which was doing wicked things for a financial reward. He was known for doing divination or cursing nations for profit. And so ultimately, though he may have been righteous for a time, went back to wicked things. And so ultimately, I think a lot of leaders of Yah's people, whether it be mainstream Christianity or even in Torah circles, I think are falling into this category here. Let's read this. This kind of fits into the whole overall thing, and I think we'll probably finish here. And it says, but there were false prophets also among you, which, by the way, stay with me. I got a couple of important announcements at the end. So, but there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily or secretly or slowly or over time shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying Yahweh that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. So I think about maybe just interesting or crafty ways to deny the blood, the saving blood of Messiah, or I don't know. I'm just wondering, what does that look like? In my opinion, also, to not follow Yahusha's obedience is also denying the master that bought them. But anyways, many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be even evil spoken of. So I think about maybe teachers of the way who, with their crazy doctrines, make outside people looking into the Torah movement speak evil of it. So it's like people looking in, look at some of these teachers' doctrines, and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to follow Torah because so-and-so who's, I don't know, just some thoughts there. And through covetousness, they with feigned words shall make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingers not, and their damnation slumbers not. For if Elohim spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly, and delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them, and seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. Yahweh knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness, and despise government, presumptuous are they, Self-willed are they not to speak. I'm sorry. Self-willed, they are not afraid to speak evil of dignities, whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusations against them before Yahweh. But these, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption, and shall receive the reward of unrighteousness, as they that count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. Spots they are and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you, having eyes full of adultery, and that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls, and heart they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children, which have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Bosor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. So I'm thinking of like, financial gain for people that are teaching the children of Israel to kind of go back to, I'm thinking of like specifically this sun worship thing and Balaam, and teaching them to feast with the appointed times of devils. Like, it's just crazy. But was rebuked for his iniquity, the dumb ass speaking with man's voice forbade the madness of the prophet. These are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness. Those that were clean escape from them who live in error. While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, the same is he brought in bondage. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world, through the knowledge of the Master and the Savior, Yahushua HaMashiach, they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter end is worse with them than the beginning. For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than, after they had known it, to turn from the holy commandment delivered them. But it has happened unto them according to the true proverb, the dog is turned into his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to her own wallowing in the mire. So, man, tough stuff. And this is Jeremiah 8, by the way. That time, says Yahweh, they shall bring out the bones of the kings of Judah, the bones of his princes, the bones of the priests, the bones of the prophets, and the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of their graves, and they shall spread them before the sun and the moon and the hosts of heaven, whom they have loved, and whom they have served, and after whom they have walked, and whom they have sought, and whom they have worshipped. They shall not be gathered nor be buried, for they shall be dung upon the face of the earth. And death shall be chosen rather than life by all the residue of them that remain of this evil family. So there's nothing new. So, man, crazy times. So next week we're gonna lift up Phinehas and some more of this lion behavior. That we know Messiah is a lion of the tribe of Judah, and so good stuff. A couple announcements. Wanted to share that my wife did a lot of work on the Parable of the Vineyard YouTube page, which, by the way, on the homepage now we have this new Fellowship Finder tool. Would highly recommend it. It's fairly new, so all the registrants are fairly new. I know some of the hard times on some of the other Fellowship Finders is like people signed up like 10 years ago, and like you contacted them and they're like, yeah, we don't follow Messiah anymore. And they're like, oh, okay, get me out of here. So this is relatively new, but that being said, we still don't know everyone that signs up. There are some privacy blockers in place where you can contact before your location is put up, and so there are some things there. So thanks also to Brother Dave, who actually built that fellowship tool finder from the ground up. But also my wife did some organization here on especially the articles page. It used to be just a big mess before. Now she's kind of organized all the articles, which one of the ones I wanted to share with you is the calendar. A lot of you are asking about the calendar this year. I have updated that. I'll have a video. Definitely the wrong. Did I not click the wrong thing? Man. Okay, something happened here. Yeah, I don't know why that link didn't work. Man. I'll try to fix that. I'll try to put a link in this description box specifically about the 2026 feast day dates, and then I also have a video explaining why the dates we have are 30 days after most calendars. So hopefully by the time you guys watch this, I'll have this link fixed. I don't know why it's clicking to something else. But also, we have the Ancient Path Revivals website. My wife have done a lot here. Talks a little bit about our local community at the Fellowship Finders here, events that are coming up, our fellowship, things like that. And one of the things I don't like ever doing is asking for help. I've done it a handful of times over the last 7-8 years of ministry. But speaking of which, one of the things we are doing here is we do have a community on site, and it's growing. It's awesome. It's this community is become the love of my life. Alongside my wife, my children, this community is like my love. It's a group of fellow outcasts like myself that want to come together in spirit and truth, and we're growing. I don't know how many people we employ. I should have that number, maybe 20, maybe 25. And we've grown so much, and there's so much work to do here. Yahweh's provided a wonderful place, but it started off rough. It was a heap. It used to be a wrecking yard. There was hundreds of cars abandoned, and it was a junkyard basically, and it was a trash pit. And many hands have been here helping us. Many are still here. Some have come and just passed through and helped, and some stayed for a time. But a lot of hands have gone on to clean this place up, and there's still a lot of work to do. We're doing the feast days here. We're doing the other outreach events like Hebrew Fest, and I'm very thankful. We have a lot of consistent support, and a lot of you have been supporting us for years, and we've just grown so much that there's times we have just run out of money, and that's caused us to get more organized and diligent. My wife and some others here we're tracking everything now, and we've made some refinements to our spending, and so we're looking inwardly first, and doing our best to refine what we're doing here, to be good stewards over what Yahweh has given us, and but nevertheless we're at a point where we need some help, and so this is me asking for help. Specifically, our biggest expense here is wages, and I believe wages is part of it's set apart. It's part of Torah. It's something that's really and so I'm just reaching out. I need help. We have a lot of wages to pay, and they're earned here. The people work hard, and they've been doing a great work. There's a lot more work to be done here, and so if anyone finds value in what we're trying to do here, if you want to learn more about what we're doing here, I don't want to sit here and just go through all this, but there's quite a bit here to go through, and we are a family here, and so I'm just asking for some help. If nothing else, I'm not asking for money for me or my house family, but to help pay with the wages here. We got a lot of hard workers here, and I need to continue to be able to pay them. And so, just asking for some help. We've made some cuts and some reorganization in some places, but we're still at a place of need. And so, forgive me for asking. I hate doing it, but maybe that's the point. This is something that I don't like doing, and it's out of my comfort zone, just like singing. But I'm in a place where I want to sing, so we're gonna end with Psalm 18. Let's pray, and then Psalm 18, my rock and my deliverance. Father Yahweh, we just come before you in Yahushua's name. Just thank you so much for waking us up. Thank you for giving us salvation. Thank you for creating this earth, and we just want to obey you and respect you and honor you and love you the way you want to be respected, honored, and loved. And as a father, just to give you what's due to you. Help us to be refined, and we just bless you. Thank you for the Shabbat. Thank you for letting us sing and dance to you. It's in your Son Yahushua's name we pray. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. Praise Yah. Psalm 18, Left and Right Ministries.
When the cords of death surround me and the torrents of destruction are overwhelming me in the darkness, when the snares of death are confronting me, oh, in my distress, in my weakness, I call, oh, in my distress, in my weakness, I call upon your name, I call upon your name, oh, Yahweh. Rock in my deliverance, my strength and my mighty fortress. I love you, oh, Yahuwah. In my desperation, I call upon your name. My rock in my deliverance, my strength and my mighty fortress. I love you, oh, Yahuwah. In my desperation, I call upon your name. And from my enemies, I am saved. Day of my calamity, when I'm set before the face of my enemies, I will sing, I will shout, I will lift my voice and cry aloud. Yahuwah is my shield and the horn of my salvation. Yahuwah is my shield and the horn of my salvation. Rock in my deliverance, strength in my mighty fortress. I love you, oh, Yahuwah. In my desperation, I call upon your name. My rock in my deliverance, my strength in my mighty fortress. I love you, oh, Yahuwah. In my desperation, I call upon your name, and from my enemies, I am saved. Yes, I am saved. Yahuwah thundered in the heavens, the Most High uttered his voice. When I cried to Elohim for help, he heard my voice. Then the earth was shaking and the mountains were trembling before the great and powerful presence of my Elohim, who sends out his arrows. Yahuwah thundered in the heavens, the Most High uttered his voice. When I cried to Elohim for help, he heard my voice. And the earth was shaking and the mountains were trembling before the great and powerful presence of my Elohim, who sends out his arrows and scatters the enemy. come save